In December of 1980, at the height of the Cold War, two of the most secure and strategically important military bases in the Western world went on high alert. But the threat wasn't from a Soviet missile or a terrorist attack. The threat came from the sky, and it landed in the forest right outside their gates. What would you do if you were a soldier, trained to defend against any human threat, and you came face to face with a craft that wasn't human? If you're intrigued by military encounters with the unexplained, like this video, subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. You won't want to miss the declassified stories we're about to uncover. Tonight, we present the single most compelling, well-documented, and officially verified UFO encounter in British history. This is a story of multiple military witnesses, physical trace evidence, radiation hotspots, and a declassified audio recording of a high-ranking officer in the field as he confronts a technology that defies all known laws of physics. This is not a campfire tale. This is a military incident. This is Britain's Roswell. This is the Rendlesham Forest incident. Rendlesham Forest, Suffolk, England. A dense, dark woodland nestled between two critical NATO air bases, RAF Bentwaters and RAF Woodbridge. In December 1980, these bases were operated by the United States Air Force and were home to squadrons of A-10 Warthog attack jets. It was also widely believed to be a storage site for tactical nuclear weapons, making it one of the most sensitive and heavily guarded locations in Europe. The men and women stationed here were the tip of the spear, the front line of defense in the Cold War. In the early morning hours of December 26, 1980, just after 3 a.m., the day after Christmas, the calm was shattered. A security patrol at the east gate of RAF Woodbridge reported seeing strange lights descending into the forest. The lights were bright, multicolored, and appeared to be coming from a craft that was either crashing or landing. Believing a civilian or military aircraft was in distress, a three-man patrol was dispatched to investigate. The team was led by Staff Sergeant Jim Penniston. As Penniston and his team, including Airman John Burroughs and Airman Ed Cabansag, drove toward the location of the lights, their radio began to malfunction. The forest itself seemed to come alive with an eerie energy. Farm animals in a nearby pasture were in a state of panic, making a cacophony of noise. When they entered the woods on foot, the air grew still and heavy. The lights they were pursuing led them to a small clearing. There, in the clearing, was not the wreckage of a plane. It was a craft of unknown origin. It was small, triangular, about 9 feet long and 6 feet high, and made of a smooth, black, glassy material that seemed to absorb the light from their flashlights. It was hovering silently just above the ground, or resting on 3 distinct landing legs. The craft was covered in strange symbols, similar to ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, that glowed with an inner light. A bright reddish light pulsed from the top, and a blue light emanated from underneath. As the ranking officer, Penniston made a decision that would define the rest of his life. He approached the object, his mind reeling, trying to rationalize what he was seeing. He conducted a full security sweep around the craft, taking notes and sketching the object and its strange symbols in his police notebook. He noted that the air around it was electrically charged. Then he did something extraordinary. He reached out and touched it. As his hand made contact with the smooth, warm surface of the craft, Penniston experienced what he would later describe as a download of information. A stream of binary code, ones and zeros, flooded his mind. He didn't understand it, but the information was seared into his brain. After about 45 minutes of observation, the craft lifted off the ground without a sound, maneuvered through the dense trees with impossible agility, and shot into the night sky at a speed that defied belief. The 3 airmen were left in the silent, dark forest, their minds struggling to comprehend what they had just witnessed. The next morning, investigators were sent to the clearing. The evidence they found was stunning. 3 distinct impressions were visible in the hard, frozen ground where the craft had rested. A plaster cast was made of one of the impressions, but the most alarming discovery came from the radiation readings. A forensics team recorded radiation levels at the landing site that were 7 times higher than normal background radiation. The highest readings were concentrated within the 3 impressions. Something physical and radioactive had been in that clearing. The story could have ended there, dismissed as a strange but isolated incident. But it didn't. 2 nights later, on December 28th, the lights returned. This time, the base's deputy commander, Lieutenant Colonel Charles Halt, decided to lead an investigative party himself. Halt was a no-nonsense, by-the-book officer, deeply skeptical of the initial reports. He was determined to debunk the UFO story that was spreading through his base. He brought with him a team of security police and a micro-cassette recorder to document the investigation. That audio recording, now known as the Halt tape, is one of the most incredible pieces of evidence in the history of UFO research. Over 18 minutes, it captures the real-time transformation of a skeptical military officer into a baffled and alarmed witness to a phenomenon he cannot explain. "I see it too. It's back again. It's coming this way. There's no doubt about it. This is weird." On the tape, you can hear Halt and his men as they venture into the forest. They find the landing site from the first night and confirm the indentations. Their radiation detector chatters wildly. Then they see the light again. A bright, red, pulsating light, like an eye winking at them, moving through the trees. It approaches them, then recedes. It seems to be intelligent, responsive. The encounter escalates. The object moves out over a field, and Halt describes it as hovering over the ground. Then, the object begins to drip what appears to be molten metal. Suddenly, it splits into 5 separate white objects, which disappear into the night sky. But the show isn't over. Halt and his men then witness multiple objects in the sky miles away. They are making sharp, angular movements at high speed. One of them, according to Halt's real-time narration, directs a concentrated beam of light down to the ground, near the base's highly sensitive weapons storage area. Now we're observing what appears to be a beam coming down to the ground. This is unreal. For a man like Charles Halt, the implications were terrifying. An unknown, intelligently controlled object with advanced technology was demonstrating its capabilities directly over a nuclear weapons facility. This was no longer just a strange light in the woods. It was a major security breach of immense proportions. In the days that followed, Halt filed an official report, now known as the Halt Memo, detailing the events of both nights. The memo, sent to the British Ministry of Defense, confirmed the radiation readings, the physical evidence, and the testimony of his men. It was an official military report acknowledging a close encounter with an unidentified craft. The official explanation from both the British and American governments has always been dismissive. The Ministry of Defense concluded the event had no defense significance. The prevailing skeptical theory is that the airmen, unfamiliar with the local area, simply misidentified the beam from the Orfordness Lighthouse, located several miles away on the coast. But this explanation fails to account for the vast majority of the evidence. A lighthouse beam does not create physical indentations in the ground. It does not leave behind radiation. It does not get tracked on radar, as later witnesses would claim. And it certainly does not drip molten metal or fire beams of light down from the sky. For years, the story was kept quiet. But as witnesses began to retire from the military, more details emerged. Radar operators from the base confirmed they had tracked an object moving at over 3,000 miles per hour. And what of the binary code that Jim Penniston received? In 2010, after keeping it to himself for 30 years, he had it translated. The message was cryptic, containing coordinates for several ancient sites on Earth, including the Great Pyramid of Giza and the Nazca Lines in Peru. It also contained a message of exploration and a warning about humanity's future. The Rendlesham Forest incident remains the most profound military UFO encounter ever to be made public. It involves more than a dozen trained military observers, physical trace evidence, radiation, official government documents, and an audio recording from the heart of the event. It is a case that has been scrutinized for decades and has stubbornly refused to be debunked. What landed in that forest in December 1980? Was it a secret prototype aircraft, a sophisticated prank? Or was it, as the witnesses believe, a craft from another world, making its presence known at one of the most dangerous places on Earth? The questions raised by the events at Rendlesham are as relevant today as they were in 1980. What do you think the military witnessed over those 2 nights? Let us know your theories in the comments section. And if you found this declassified story as compelling as we do, please like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the unknown.